Okay, another former big-name, star-ish type player on the trade block, and another video for me to make. I know that's what everybody's thinking. Classic Raider fan thinking we should trade for Guy because he's available, even though we don't need him. Anthony Richardson is out there, and people are talking about how he could be a potential link to the Raiders because I guess Pete Carroll liked them once upon a time, a long time ago. Now, I just want to say this right out the gate. Would I trade for Anthony Richardson on Friday, August 22nd? No, I would not. However, I'm not completely out on Anthony Richardson in terms of him being a successful quarterback. And I want to get into something that I think I figured out, not just about Raiders fans, but about the psyche of the NFL fan of a team that needs a quarterback, because it's something that always happens, and I call it quarterback inflation. Whether it's just a lot of quarterbacks being drafted way higher than they should have been, like Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, right? People trying to find that next Patrick Mahomes. Anthony Richardson was a product of that. Maybe Cam Ward is a product of that. Who knows? And now what we have fallen into as a fan base of any team you root for that needs a quarterback is, where is the next Baker Mayfield? Where is the next Sam Darnold? Where is the next Geno Smith? We are looking for that project that we can take and mold. But the history is, and the reality is, typically that doesn't really happen. But for some reason, we have this groundswell in the same kind of football era of Geno, Sam, and Baker that have all been developed and molded after being busts, quote unquote, earlier in their career. So everyone's like, well, Anthony Richardson could be our version of Baker Mayfield, or it could be our Geno Smith, and he could learn under Geno Smith, and Geno could blah, 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 blah. But there's an issue with that premise, the fatal flaw that Anthony Richardson, and to a lesser extent Daniel Jones, don't yet have that Baker, Sam, and Geno all had. And I'm going to get into that. We're going to read an article, but before I do, I need to tell you about the sponsor for this video, OddsJam. Look at these results. People are making thousands every month betting on sports completely risk-free. The secret? They're using OddsJam. OddsJam isn't just another betting app. It's turning the entire system in your favor. Here's how. OddsJam uses a strategy called arbitrage, finding odds discrepancies across the sports books. You bet both sides, and no matter the outcome, you will profit. Here's an example. If you bet $500 on Boise State to win on FanDuel and $335 on their opponent San Francisco on DraftKings, you're guaranteed to make $50 win or lose. It's that simple. With the OddsJam mobile app, you'll get real-time alerts on these opportunities every day. People are making thousands of dollars every month, and to get you started, use promo code ALLaBorde for 35% off and a 7-day free trial. I guarantee you'll profit during that trial, and if you don't, cancel with one click. No questions asked. Don't leave money on the table. Go to oddsjam.com, use promo code ALLaBorde, and start making money the smart way. Okay, so I teased the fatal flaw, but before we get into the fatal flaw, let's read a little Just Blog Baby. Caleb... Okay, he writes an article here. Raiders named dream destination for quarterback they should avoid. The asking price may be too steep for a player that hasn't shown much in 2 seasons. And by the way, I want the comments. Should we trade for him? Should we not? What would you give up? Would you give up anything? How long should he sit? He's a pretty young player at the end of the day, so that he does have that going for him. But 47% of his passes completed last year is not great. Okay, so let's read. Caleb says, the Las Vegas Raiders made arguably the biggest upgrade at quarterback this offseason as they traded for Geno Smith since re-emerging as a starter in 2022. He ranks 4th in passing yards and completion percentage and 8th in passing touchdowns. That marks a vast improvement from a Raiders team that had the 10th fewest passing yards, 10th lowest completion percentage, and 12th fewest passing yards over the past 2 seasons. While Smith represents a massive upgrade in the short term, he is already 35 years old. Sooner or later, Las Vegas will have to start thinking about finding its quarterback of the future. While they have a third-year player, Aiden O'Connell, and 6th-round rookie quarterback Cam Miller on the roster, neither player has shown yet they will be able to take over the mantle when Smith retires. Raiders named the dream destination for Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson. Following the news that landed Indianapolis Colts Daniel Jones, their starting quarterback, there has been plenty of speculation that Anthony Richardson could be on the move. A recent report listed the Raiders as a dream landing spot for the former 4th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. Here's the quote. In Las Vegas, Richardson would get the chance to learn under offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, who was creative enough to highlight Richardson's strengths. He also gets to work under Pete Carroll, who has had encouraging history with dual-threat quarterbacks. It was under care the guidance of Russell Wilson put together a Hall of Fame resume with the Seattle Seahawks, wrote Breach Report's Christopher Knox. Oh, and did you know that Tom Brady is a Raiders minority owner? Plus, the Raiders supporting cast has become sneaky good one the past couple of seasons. The Raiders might lack an elite receiver, but they have a good one, Jacoby Myers. Finally, somebody acknowledging Jacoby Myers' existence. And an elite tight end in Brock Bowers, 24th in the NFL Top 100, and a very promising running back in Ashton Jeanty. Richardson's agent has made it clear they're not happy with the way the Colts have handled the young quarterback. He's made just 15 starts in the NFL career due in part to injury, but was beaten out of the starting job heading into his third season. While the Raiders have the need for a young quarterback, Richardson should not be the player they target. In those 15 career games, he has thrown for 2,391 yards, 11 touchdowns, 13 picks, while completing an abysmal 50% of his passes. He has thrived in the running game, adding 635 yards and 10 touchdowns and 111 carries. That's pretty good. However, that is not enough to prove he's an NFL-caliber quarterback. I agree. There have been suggestions that he could play a similar role to the one Marcus Mariota played for Las Vegas in 2021, but it appears the Colts' asking price may be too steep at this point in a time for the Raiders to make a worthwhile move. Indianapolis has suggested they are not giving up Richardson, which could simply be an attempt to restore some trade value. Considering what he has shown in his brief career, however, giving up more than a 6th or 7th round pick with the hopes of fixing Richardson would be bad business, and the Raiders should avoid that at all costs. So, yeah, look, would I give up a 6th or a 7th for Richardson? Probably. That's not what the Colts are going to take. But this is what I want to talk about. We are, like I said, we're in this era of quarterback resurgences, right? But Anthony Richardson, and to a lesser extent Daniel Jones, have not gone through the same trials and tribulations that Baker, Sam, and Geno all went through. So let's go through it. Baker Mayfield, drafted by the Browns, pretty bad organization, actually made it to the playoffs. They go their separate ways. From that point, he goes to the Panthers, then the Rams, then the Bucs. I believe I have that right. Sam Darnold, similarly, Jets, bad organization. Then from the Jets, I think he also goes to the Panthers. Then he goes to the 49ers, learns under Kyle Shanahan, right? Baker learned under Sean McVay for a little. Then finds himself in Minnesota. It's typically not the first or even the second team that these guys play for that they end up coming back and having this resurgent type career for. Geno Smith was Jets, Giants, then Seahawks, right? And now Raiders, which is probably the peak of Geno Smith. Daniel Jones went Giants, a couple games with Kevin O'Connell, and now he's a Colts quarterback. Like, he still hasn't had the growing pains of these other guys that they've went through multiple organizations, multiple different offenses they had to learn. Anthony Richardson, if he gets traded to the Raiders, that will be the version of the Panthers for Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. That will be the Giants and Geno Smith. It wouldn't be, oh, Anthony Richardson's bad, he goes to a better team, and now he's better. He has to go to a better team to learn how to be a quarterback, to then go to the team that he does have the resurgence for. Does that make any sense? Like, Anthony Richardson's meteoric rise is yet to come because he still has to go through playing for multiple teams to have the same career as all those guys that I just listed before. And everything that they listed makes sense. Pete Carroll can work with any personality. Not to say he has a bad personality, Anthony Richardson. I think he has a pretty good personality, and people seem to like him. And Chip Kelly is creative enough, and the offense around him is pretty good. But Shane Steichen's creative too. And they have a pretty good offense too. And they won like 8 games with him and Gardner Minshew. So he was already in a situation that had good weapons, that had a great play caller, right? That had a great offensive line. The Colts' offensive line is probably better than our offensive line. Jonathan Taylor's a great running back. Ashton Jeanty could be better, might not be. So to say like, oh, the Raiders are a perfect situation for him to blossom is to say the Colts didn't have that situation when, in fact, they did. Maybe our weapons and our play caller are a little bit better. What's he going to complete? 58% of his passes? I would just pump the brakes on that for right now. But if he goes to the Rams, right, or if he goes to the Steelers, I mean, he's got Steeler written all over him. He does okay, learns a little bit, sits in a little bit, and then maybe the year after that, where Gino's like, I'm going to retire. We sign Anthony Richardson and we roll with him. That's when I would feel more comfortable. I would sign him as a free agent, let him compete. I don't think I would give up anything more than, like they said, a 6th or 7th round pick. And I don't think that he's had the necessary growth to have a resurgent career. And I do think we're in that era of who's the next. And I'll tell you who the next actually is. Somebody who got drafted into a bad organization with not a lot of weapons around him. Toward the end of his tenure with this team, they started to get better. The offensive line was a nightmare. Then he went from the Jets to the Broncos, learned under Sean Payton. Now he's the backup quarterback for Tua and Miami, and Mike McDaniel learned under the offensive tutelage of Sean Payton, learned the offense that Mike McDaniel runs, very complex. He's the most important backup quarterback in the league, and that's Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson in the Broncos preseason games and in the Dolphins preseason games has looked very good. I'm not saying we should go get Zach Wilson to replace Geno Smith, but I'm saying if you're out there looking for the next resurgent player, the next Baker, the next Geno, the next Sam, I don't think Anthony Richardson is ready to be called that yet because he's still young enough and he hasn't played for enough teams. But Zach Wilson has had the map of somebody who can do that. He went from the Jets to a great offense, and now after this, maybe the Rams pick him up and Sean McVay resurrects his career. But he has to go to a place that's ready to win for him. I would say Zach Wilson with Ashton Genty in year 3 because I think Geno's going to be the quarterback for 2 years. With Dante Thornton year 3, with Jacoby Myers year 7 or 8 at that point, Brock Bowers year 3. Keep an eye on Zach Wilson. I'm going to keep manifesting that into the universe. I almost manifested Stafford into existence, although now with the back injury, I'm kind of happy that I didn't manifest that to existence. Before we go here, I just want to talk about real quickly Brock Bowers and Max Crosby, NFL Top 100, 24 and 22. I will say before I get into that, shout out to my patrons and my YouTube members. We are so close, by the way, to 14,000 subscribers. I think we're 56 away. So please hit that subscribe button if you're new. And if you want a chance to win $100, join my YouTube membership tier. It's only one tier. You get all these awesome perks, and you have a chance to win $100. And shout out to my Discord, link in the description below. That's completely free as well. We have 2 people in the top 25% of the NFL Top 100, Brock Bowers and Max Crosby. I don't know how many teams that were picking in the top 10 last year can say that. We don't know what the full list is. But maybe somebody can curate that once the full list is out. How many teams that picked in the top 10 last year have 2 players in the prime of their career that are in the top 25 of the NFL Top 100? And the sky's the limit for Brock. Like we know Max is probably in the prime of his powers, right, the peak of his career. The sky's the limit for Brock Bowers. And I'm just so happy that we didn't overthink that draft pick because I remember saying back in that day, back in that time period, Devontae's not going to be here forever. And for that next quarterback that we have, I assumed it was going to be a younger quarterback. We're going to need a focal point to bring in. And I do think Brock Bowers is that guy moving forward. I couldn't be more happy that he's on the team. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the Anthony Richardson of it all? Comment below. Let me know. Oh, it's only Friday. I thought it was Saturday. I filmed this video because I thought I needed to get something up on Saturday, and it's only Friday. Sweet. Comment below your thoughts. Like I said, shout out to my patrons and my YouTube members. Hit that like button, comment away. Sunday, big announcement. Please be sure to subscribe. It's free after all, no charge to you. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.